This program on investing under regulation crowdfunding is not investment advice.
Rising with the crowd, power unbound, change makers lead where hope is found. Superpowers for good, shaping the fate. Investors and dreamers open the gate. Super Crow stands loud, proud and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Welcome to the Superpowers for Good show from the Super Crowd. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and I am really privileged today to have a remarkable guest, one of the greatest chefs and restaurateurs in the country, arguably the greatest plant-based vegan chef in the country, if not the world. We are really lucky to have with us Ravi DeRossi. Ravi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I just need to clarify something real quick. I am not a chef. I am the founder and CEO of Overthrow Hospitality, and I hire and empower young chefs, and I work with them. I act as the culinary director as well, but I am not a chef myself.
Well, that's a good clarification, but your restaurants are Michelin reviewed. You're a big deal, right? I want to be clear about that. I don't want to leave the folks in the audience thinking, oh, well, Devin's wrong. He's not a big deal. You're a big deal.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, listen, Ravi, I'm fascinated by one thing. You know, I've been eating a vegan diet now for 11 years. And so this resonates with me on a very personal level. That said, one of the things that I find fascinating is that the vast majority of your customers are not identifying as vegan. They come because you make delicious food. Talk to us a little bit about how that has come about.
Well, how did that come about? You know, we didn't set out to cater to anybody really other than my palate. I know that I like really good food. It has to be perfectly balanced. It has to have salt, heat, fat, acid, like all of these things, and it has to be balanced. So when I opened up my first vegan restaurant, I found a chef who had never actually been a chef before. He had been to culinary school, but he'd never been an executive chef. He'd worked the line. He'd been a sous chef, a CDC, all these sort of things. And I said, are you interested in just cooking vegetables? And he said, yes. And I said, okay, we're going to spend the next 6 months just cooking vegetables until together we've developed a menu that has all the same attributes of a meat menu. Like you want the same satiation, you want the same heat and salt. You want to be able to walk away from that meal feeling just as full and satisfied as you would walking away from eating a steak or whatever it was. You know, you get that fat content that does this, and the salt does this, and the heat does this. And we did that. And 10 years ago, we spent a long time developing that first menu. And 10 years ago, we opened up our first vegan restaurant, which was Avant Garden. And it just so happened that I'm not trying to take all the credit for this. Like, it just so happened that my palate was the same palate as hundreds of thousands of other people who have eaten there since then and have agreed that this is just amazing food. Whether it's the fact that it's vegan is great. It's good for your health. It's good for the climate. It's good for animals' rights. But beyond that, it's just good food. And that's when it became a sort of defining moment for the company. Like, we achieved it. We had critics come in that weren't just critics of vegan restaurants, like vegan people coming in. Like, we knew vegan people were going to come to our restaurant, but in order for us to be more impactful, we needed to have non-vegans come and eat there as well. And so even these non-vegan food critics, like real food critics for Eater and Observer and New Yorker, came in, and every single one of them just wrote incredible reviews about it. There was one quote, and I can't remember the exact quote. It was in the New Yorker, something to the effect of, eating at Avant Garden was like going through a wormhole into a new world where meat never existed and you just didn't care. that to me, I don't think there's ever been a better anything said about our restaurants. And that defining moment led us to creating all the other restaurants that we have.
That is really high praise, high praise. You know, it is challenging to find great vegan food. I can tell you. So this is great news. Now you don't operate one restaurant. Is it 3 that you've got operating now?
No, we have 10 cocktail restaurants.
Tell us a little bit about your reach and where all these restaurants are located. Can you give us the rundown?
Yeah, we are all of them right now, except one is located in Manhattan's East Village. And it's maybe laziness. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but I live in the East Village. I've lived here for 25 years. My office is here in the East Village. We opened up our first restaurant here in the East Village and have just, there's so many people in Manhattan. We just kept opening up more restaurants in the East Village. And we finally decided that we wanted to expand outside of Manhattan. And we did open up our first restaurant outside of Manhattan, and that opened in LA, in Los Angeles. That's called Ubuntu. It's a vegan African restaurant. And now we're raising money so that we can continue our reach outside of Manhattan. Like it's like we've done it. We're here. We've done really well in New York City. It's time for us to expand our reach so that we can just be more impactful.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you mentioned that you're raising capital on StartEngine. Tell us a little bit about how you decided to raise capital from the crowd. You've got a lot of customers, obviously, so you have a crowd. Did that factor in?
Yeah, well, it's I'll make it brief. It's sort of a long answer, but I'll make it as brief as possible. I have another company called Gin and Luck, and we own a cocktail bar called Death & Co. We opened up this cocktail bar 18 years ago. It became like a phenomenon, like it was front page of the New York Times, is like sort of setting off the path for more craft cocktail bars. Like they're sort of giving us credit for starting that, even though I don't want to take credit for starting that. But that cocktail bar was around for 10 years. It's still open today. But about 10 years after the first opening, me and my partner, Dave, thought we want to expand this, right? How do we raise money? We had a lot of wealthy customers that came and used to drink with us. And we started having, they introduced us to different private equity and VC groups and high net worth investors that loved what we were doing and wanted to be part of it. And after about a year of meeting with these private equity, VC, high net worth individuals, they all basically said the same thing, is that they're like, we'll give you whatever money you want. Like, we love your concept. We love this. We can blow this up. We can open this up in every city, but we want 51% equity and we want board control. And at that moment, we thought, we only had the one location of this cocktail bar, Death & Co. And mind you, this is a totally separate company, but it led to what we're doing at Overthrow. And then this is 8 years ago, this happened. And a friend of mine that worked in finance had just taken a job at a crowdfunding. This is still when it was new, crowdfunding for businesses. Had taken a job at a company called Seed Invest. And he said, well, why don't you try doing it through us? So we thought, sure, you're not giving up voting rights. You end up having thousands of investors, but you're not giving up control of your company. So we thought, sure, let's try it. We launched a raise through Seed Invest for Death & Co. And in 3 months, we raised $5 million. It just incredible, totally unexpected, but super successful. Since then, at that company, we have raised $15 million through crowdfunding. And we've opened up 8 locations in 8 other states. We actually just bought a building and we're building our first hotel now. Again, separate company, Gin and Luck, that I have since stepped down from my day-to-day operations, day-to-day involvement in that company. I just sit on the board and I go to the monthly board meetings. My focus has turned to Overthrow Hospitality, where I'm just, I'm more passionate about what we're doing here, right? This just animal rights and climate change are really important issues in my life, if not the most important issues. And what we're doing here it's just what I want to be doing, right? At this stage in my life, it's more about passion and drive and motivation, than just making money through gin and luck, which we do. We're very successful. So because of that, we decided to do the same thing at Overthrow Hospitality. We have a social media following and an email list of upwards of 300,000 people. We have a huge, we have so many people that come and dine with us on a regular basis. We thought, let's get them involved, right? Like the minimum investment it's $200 and something. Even if you're not a wealthy investor with hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank, you can still make a difference and become, like, to me, climate change, it's one of the most important issues facing our world today. And it's daunting, right? To think as one person, what can I do? How can I can eat vegan. Sure. I can drive my car less. I can ride a bike. Cool. But is that really going to make a difference? And it does. And mind you, I believe it does. But if you want to feel like are doing more, you can invest a minimal amount of money and now join a community of hundreds of thousands of people serving millions of vegan meals and be
part of a bigger solution. Yeah.
Part of a bigger solution. Yeah.
Yeah. That's remarkable. It is exciting and fun to be a part of that movement. Have you done any analysis to compare the carbon difference between, say, a meal at Morton's Steakhouse and compare that to a meal at one of your places? Have you ever done that exercise?
No, I have not from a carbon standpoint, from like a water standpoint. Like I know it's 42 times more water to create a meal that's made with meat than one that's made with veggies. But as far as the carbon, I'm sure there's a lot of studies out there. I have not. And it's, something I should definitely do and probably will do as soon as I get off this call. Cause now I'm not, it's interesting to think about. And, yeah, but no, I haven't done it.
Yeah, that water difference is remarkable too, right? And water is scarce in a lot of places. I live here in California where it is really super scarce, right?
Yeah,
water is a precious resource.
I'd like to think there's that phrase. It's a quote. I don't remember where it came from exactly, where they say the pen is mightier than the sword. I think, and whenever 100, 200 years ago, somebody made that quote, I think there was a lot of truth to it. And there still is. Today, you could apply that to the fork, right? I think the fork is probably one of the most powerful weapons or tools on this planet. Like you can literally, by what you choose to eat, you can cure diseases. You can stop wars before they start. You can, change the weather with a fork. Like it's pretty incredible. You can stop droughts before they happen. You can stop people from starving to death by what you choose to eat. It is the most powerful tool on this planet right now.
Yeah, it is remarkable. I think a lot of people don't appreciate how much difference their diet can make, right, in the climate change fight. But I'm not an expert on these details, but certainly it appears that the biggest impact we can have as an individual is not the car we drive or the house we live in, but the food we eat, because so much carbon comes from animal agriculture.
Yeah, meat agriculture is one of the largest causes of climate change on the planet. It's incredible, the amount of animals that are destroyed, killed every year. It's trillions. And the amount of pollution caused by this, the amount of water used, the amount of gas and fuel and oil used to farm these animals, it's much less the methane, right? The methane and it's kind of a funny thing, right, to think about, but like literally cows farting puts so much methane into the air, it has changed the course of history.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. Ravi, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to be with us. We're going to take a quick break here. But when we come back, I'm going to shift gears with you a little bit. And we're going to talk about your superpower. So Everybody, I want to invite you to stick around. This is going to be a conversation you don't want to miss.
Download a free copy of How to Make Money with Impact Crowdfunding, the book Sarah Hanks describes as
a fantastic overview, not just of crowdfunding investing, but of investing in general.
Andrew Savickas raved,
"This book offers unparalleled insights for anyone looking to make a difference."
Scan the QR code to get your copy.
Ready to take your small business to the next level? Honeycomb Credit empowers diverse entrepreneurs by connecting you with community-driven funding. Build customer relationships, amplify your brand, and grow with those who believe in you. Honeycomb Credit, where your community invests in you.
Scan the QR code to start today.
Join the Impact Crowdfunding movement. Get Superpowers for Good, your free daily newsletter with exclusive video replays, a podcast, and the latest investment opportunities open to everyone. Join the super crowd. Scan now so you can learn to make money while you make a difference.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm here today with Ravi DeRossi, the CEO of Overthrow Hospitality. He's an amazing entrepreneur and culinary expert, not a chef, as he pointed out at the top of the show, but we're thrilled to have him. We're going to shift gears to talk with him now about his superpower, so stick around. Ravi, thrilled to have you on the show. So grateful to learn more about what you're doing. You have been so incredibly successful. It's an honor to have you on the show, but it's also, we want to learn a little bit about what makes you tick. What is your superpower?
I've never ever been asked that question, and I've never even considered or thought about having a superpower. So give me a minute here. I don't know if you call it a superpower, but I think one of the things that has led me in my life and my company to becoming so successful is just creativity, right? Prior to getting into hospitality, I was an artist. That's all I studied. I studied theater. I studied creative writing. I studied fine arts. And at one point in time, I was living in Europe and selling paintings for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's just what I did. And I lived and breathed creativity. Like, I think to my core, I am an artist, right? And creativity is the sort of the leading driver in my life. And even to this day, I write plays and I'm writing a book, and on the outs, when I have a little bit of free time, and I design all my restaurants, the interiors, because it just comes to me naturally to do these creative things. So I think getting into hospitality and applying that, which is, I never thought this is where I was going to end up. I had no background in it, never studied it, just opened up a little wine bar after in September, and September 11th happened, and it became a lot harder to make a living as an artist. People thought the world economy was going to collapse and whatnot. And I was just living in New York and sort of just trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. Like, I went from spending a ton of time in Europe and selling work and this, that, to like not being able to sell a painting to save my life. And several years went by, and I was just sitting around in the East Village trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I was like, you know what? I like wine. I like to drink wine. I'm gonna open up a little wine bar, and I did. And I spent nothing. Literally, like, I built it. I taught myself plumbing and electrics and designed it and opened up this tiny little 24-seat wine bar. I made my money back in under 6 months. I worked there every night. I enjoyed it. Anyways, the point being here is that I think if I was to say I have a superpower, it's this just high level of creativity that just sort of lives within me, and I apply to everything I do in my life. I think if you could be an engineer or an astrophysicist or whatever it is, And if you applied creativity to it, it gives you the ability to think outside the box and think differently. And, you know, revolutions are started by artists, right? The people that are, I'm not trying to say I'm more conscious than anybody else, but like, yeah, just revolutions are started by artists. And that's sort of what we've set out to do at Overthrow Hospitality. Our motto is literally eat, drink, start a revolution.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Now, you know, we all want to be more creative. I think everybody wants to be more creative. And so we're lucky to have an opportunity to talk to someone that has your depth of ability in creativity, because that really is, I think there's an aspect of this that is a gift, but we also want to learn from you. I wonder if you have in your mind a specific instance when, you know, a story that you could share that would illustrate for us how you use your creativity. Is there such a story that you can come up with?
A story about how I use my creativity. Gosh, I don't know. That's a tough one. When I first got into hospitality, I myself wasn't eating meat or dairy. This was 20 years ago, 2004. And I didn't think that I would be able to make all my restaurants and bars plant-based or vegan and that they would succeed, right? So I didn't, right? I didn't. I was serving meat and dairy at all of them, and you know, I was drinking a lot because that was sort of my job in life, was to just go to my bars and restaurants, talk to people, be the host and whatnot. And you know, my soul just sort of slipped away from me. You know, my consciousness just dissolved into the ether. And at one point in time, I had 15 bars and restaurants, all in New York City, all serving meat and dairy. And I didn't think much of it. And it wasn't until, you know, but somehow in this process, I started dating this girl, and she convinced me to adopt a dog. Right, it's right after Hurricane Katrina, so we got a rescue dog that came from New Orleans. And then we got another one, and then I found a cat, a little kitten in the street one day, and took it home. And I thought, there's no way my dogs are gonna get along with this, so I'll eventually find it a home. And then I got another cat. The dogs and the cats got along, and I got another one, and I got another one, and I got another. You know, eventually, this is like, we're talking like 2016 now. I've got 2 dogs and 4 cats, and they were just the best part of my life. But I still worked every day, and I still was drinking every day. And at some point, something just clicked, and I was like, I can't. My company. How am I doing this while I'm still? I think it's 2014. Sorry. You know, while I'm still living this life, and I decided I'm going to move out of Manhattan and just try to slow down a little bit and find an apartment with a yard for my animals and a place that I wanted to be home at. And, you know, I'd go to the office during the day, and I did. And I essentially sobered up, and my consciousness just sort of hit me like a brick. And I was having a really tough time just living with myself and knowing the damage that I was doing, just not just to animals, the hundreds of thousands of animals that I had served on plates, but to the environment. Like, the average restaurant does 1,000 times more, puts out 1,000 times more waste than the average individual. And at the time I had 15, so I'm doing 15,000 times more damage to the environment than just the average person. And at the same time that I was basically sobered up and was realizing these things, one of my cats, who I had a really incredible relationship with, his name is Simon, and he would not sleep unless he was sleeping on my chest. And if I rolled over, he would, you know, he got sick, and the vet said he's going to die. And so I spent a few months at home with him, and And I know I'm projecting certain things onto him, but I was struggling. I'd never lost an animal, and I was struggling. And at some point, it felt like he was there to take care of me through this process more so than I was there to take care of him. When he finally died, it was Christmas morning, 2015. And right then and there, I thought, this is it. I am turning my entire company vegan. And we did. It took 2 years. So I guess if whatever that, that's not a superpower, but to live 100% according to your own morals and beliefs.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. Well, Ravi, thank you so much for being with us. We love what you're doing. We wish you every success.
Thank you.
All righty. Now let's do some good.